Man.
Well, in Halloween fashion, I'm going to throw you guys back into the Saw torture chamber. After this read, we're talking Browns. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets across the app. I love watching football. Even more exciting when you bet a little bit something and get right in on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, guys. We're talking Browns. Sorry, Jay.
No, that's okay.
We got to grade their position groups through the first half of the season here. Mike wanted to do this morning, so I am obliging.
I mean, this is a painful topic here. I mean, I saw this on the rundown yesterday. Grade the Browns through the first half of the season, position group by position group. Can we just say F for every position? Is there any? What's the highest grade we have, guys? What's your highest grade
C.
for any position group?
A C.
For which group?
Tight ends. I separated wide receivers from tight ends.
Yeah, you should.
If I didn't, obviously.
I got a B.
Yeah.
You got a B for the tight
You got
ends?
C for tight ends, you got B for who?
No. I got a B for the defensive line.
This is your highest grade.
That's highest grade.
Okay.
Yeah, I could be moved to a B on the defensive line.
Yeah.
I think Alex Wright has played very well.
Yeah, that's a good
Isaiah
point.
McGuire,
That's a good point,
Malik
G.
Collins. Mason Graham, rookie so-so, but there hasn't been any crazy,
Nobody's been terrible on the defensive
There's
line.
nobody I could point and be like, oh my gosh, he shouldn't be playing. And plus, if they just had a little more success from a few more people, I can squint and say it might be a B plus just because Myles Garrett is playing that well.
In fact, I got a B plus for the defensive line. I'm with you there. I got it even higher.
I missed on that. Yeah, you're right. They have been the standout group.
Yeah, and unlike every other position group, there's no weak spot.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the secondary's pretty good, but there's weak spots there.
Yeah.
Right? But in the defensive line, who's their worst defensive lineman that plays?
Yeah,
Nobody's terrible.
They rotate in and out.
Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah, it's
Myles Garrett alone is going to raise the grade, obviously.
Yeah.
But, the defensive line is by far the best unit on this team.
So we're going to start with the best and work our way to the worst.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of worst, unfortunately.
Yeah, there are
there's a lot of Fs on this team.
If that's
what's the second best? Is it J when C?
So I would go C with the tight ends. But after that, I've got offensive line F, wide receivers F, defensive backs.
That's an insult to F to call the wide receivers an F.
It's as low as I could go. You're right, though. You're right. I mean,
that should be like a Z. I don't know if that's a
let's give him a Z. The first ever Z. You're right, Bull.
It's a pass, fail, and I failed.
I can't give them any points.
No.
I can't. Running backs, I would give a C because I think at times, my son and I were having this conversation on the way to the show. At times, Judkins has looked like him.
Yeah.
But his last two games, he's been abysmal. Is that because of the line?
I think it's because of the line. More the line than him.
I do too. I have hope that he's going to be eventually the player that we want him to be.
Right.
So,
go ahead.
So let me. I'll start with the running game. So when me and Tyvis just got done breaking down the all 22 film, and there are multiple times where we put on the tape and we're trying to figure out who's blocking who. And there's at least once or twice a play where there are multiple guys that are let free, that are free running in the backfield, and we don't know who's supposed to block them multiple times. So to me, the offensive line, yes, is bad. But also, the scheme in which they go about blocking, the blocking assignments seem weird. I'm trying to figure out what their principles are, what are their landmarks, and guys are just in the backfield, and it's just like, and it's hard enough to win games when you got defensive linemen that are good at shedding blocks and playing gap sound football. But it's even impossible where there was one play they ran a play with Quinshon Judkins, and they just completely turned the defensive end loose. They had a nice little
came in unblocked, and then I don't even know who was supposed
to block. And the guy that was next to him left another dude to block somebody in his second level, and he was free. If he wouldn't have made a tackle, the other guy would have. So it's so confusing in their scheme and how they blocking it. The offensive line is very far away. I think we get blinded by the fact that
we sure do miss Bill Callahan.
We missed that, and I think generally speaking, it's just not the same scheme. It's not.
Yeah, this is how bad the units are on the Browns offense. That the offensive line, which we all agree is terrible, in my opinion, is the third best unit out of 5. Because as terrible as the offensive line is, wide receiver and quarterback are worse.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like if I had, I mean, they're all terrible, but if I had to, like at least there's a couple of, at least in the offensive line, like Batonio and Teller they're still serviceable players. The rest of the line stinks.
Conklin at times.
Right, Conklin. Whereas at wide receiver, Judy's been he's the only guy who's done anything in his career, and he's been hideous.
I hesitate to say this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it declaratively. I'm asking it as a question.
Yeah.
And the reason I don't say it is because that's like, to me, the lowest thing you can say about a player is they've quit. And I'm not saying Judy has quit.
Yeah.
But after watching what he put on tape last year and seeing what he's done this year, it's a legitimate question to ask, has he just given up?
Yeah. In fact, I asked Zach Jackson that question yesterday about the team in general.
Right.
And he didn't think the team had quit, but
I don't think the team has
no,
either.
but I think it's a very fair question.
I mean,
about
how
Jerry
does
Jeudy.
a guy go from being a 1,400-yard receiver to, and now he led the league in drops last year, but he was still productive.
Yeah.
He's again near the top in drops, but he's not productive.
No, when you have whatever he had last year, how many yards did he have? 1,200?
13, yeah. I mean,
when
he
you
had
have
a lot.
1,300 yards, you live with the drops, but when you have 300 yards.
You can't. And, you can say, well, he's got a rookie quarterback throwing to him, and that's fair. But Flacco was here for a number of games, and I didn't see that big of a difference.
And the thing is, it wasn't like they had great quarterback play last year when he had a great year.
They didn't.
And even in Denver, where he was an underachiever, but he was still an adequate player, again, playing with terrible quarterbacks the whole time he was there. So the quarterbacks being terrible, to me, is not an excuse for being as bad as he's been.
I was watching, going through the film, and usually when I watch film, I watch it with Tybus, and I'll watch it with by myself, and then I'll reach out to some people, and then I'll watch other blogs about some of the same content to figure out, hey, let me see if I can, get some ideas of what they're running. And I think Jay Burns on the Orange and Brown report had we're talking about the Browns offense, and he said, and he articulated it a lot better than I do. Usually I just say, man, this is trash. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's Minimowski. But in layman's terms, he's looking at it and saying the Cleveland Browns offense is dated, and some of their concepts, like the spot routes, where it's a little spot, they're running a corner route and a wide receiver is coming over the middle and sitting down, or some of the curl flat throws, or the drive concepts, or some of these concepts are basic, and a lot of teams have no issue covering that up. It's on tape. They've been running the same thing for a long time. So what happens is there is no layups. There aren't any in any offense. You need a layup for your quarterback, especially when they're young. Like easy throws where I manipulate guys and get you open and have some concepts. But those aren't there. So now you got a young quarterback, plus you got Jerry Jeudy, and he's gonna have to work to run these routes that everybody knows are coming. So there's deficiencies in the way that they go about scheming and doing things. And a couple of years ago, the reason people say, well, did he become a bad coordinator overnight? No. What happened is teams got a tape on you, right? And you got a little more older. You got a little longer in the tooth. You're not as physical. And you got to remember, you had 2 legit running backs in their prime. So you could do some stuff and be basic. I'm just better than you up front. But now when you get older, you can't run that same stuff, and you don't. And by the way, let's keep it real. We say what we want about Jarvis and Odell Beckham Jr. Those two are light years.
No, God.
Light years.
I went
ahead
back and watched just a half of a game from that year. I'd forgotten what that looked like.
To have real receivers.
To have real receivers making great catches and always making the easy catch, but sometimes making catches that the percentage rate of completion is very low. Those guys were making quarterbacks look better because they were catching balls that shouldn't have been caught. We don't do that anymore.
No, and when your top 2 receivers are good, even if your 3rd, 4th, and 5th guy are just guys, well, they're going to play better. Yeah. Because there's less pressure on them. Sure. There's less. You got the weakest coverage. Teams are worried about the other 2 guys, especially when you throw that into a great running game. Think about this, guys. Like so, the Browns 5 position groups. I'm with you. A C on the tight end.
So where we at is the running total. So we give.
I would say a C for tight end, D for running back, and F for the other 3.
Yes, I'm with you.
If Jay, if you hired, When Corey was a kid, let's say he was struggling in school and you hired a tutor to tutor him, right? You wanted to tutor him in 5 different subjects. And then at the end of 1 year with this tutor that you're paying a lot of money to tutor him, Corey comes home and here's his report card, a C, a D, and 3 Fs. You keeping that tutor?
Well, so there's going to be a conversation.
Yeah, like what are you guys doing?
And there's going to be multiple conversations.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the teachers and say, is he putting in the effort?
Right.
I'm going to go to the tutor and say, why is he struggling? Maybe it's something that I don't know about. I'm going to find out, and in all likelihood, I'm going into that meeting with the exact idea of this person is no longer going to be teaching my son.
That's right.
In all likelihood.
That's right.
And look, in professional life, we all work in ecosystems where there is a pecking order. There's a boss, there's subordinates, and in successful organizations, there are punitive actions when you don't perform, and there are benefits when you do perform.
Right.
And this very system, if you think about it, is flawed in that when I write a contract down and I tell you this is what you're going to get, that's what you're going to get. Would they redo Jerry Jeudy's contract right now if they had the chance? No. Would they? You could ask this of every player on the football team. Denzel, yes.
Yeah.
Myles, even though there's trade talk, probably.
You know what? I don't think they would if they had to do it over again. Even though he's worth every dollar.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably be better off trading him. As crazy as that seems, I don't know. I know you're going to disagree, but
we'll
maybe
probably
not.
Talk about this later. I don't know, but if we don't,
but every other player, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Yeah. And so when there's no risk of a punitive action being taken against you,
right,
and there's no hope of putting out the fire, you put away your squirt gun. You're I can't do anything with this.
Just think about, I know it's not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but why did you guarantee Isaiah Bond's contract?
That's a very bull. At the time, we looked at that and said, wait a minute, what?
Why did you need to do that?
What had he done? Nothing.
So when you are...
And by the way, at the same time, they were telling Quinshon Judkins, yeah, we're not going to do that for you. Wait a minute, what?
See, that's the thing that I have a hard time with, because when we get on these diatribes and we talk about all of the deficiencies, we talk about the missed picks, we talk about the ineptitude with the offense, we talk about these things. But in Cleveland, we hold so tightly. I feel like we're hoarders. I feel like you ever watch people that do hoarder documentaries and they bring a psychologist in and it's some lady with 7 cats named Nancy. And she keeps collecting magazines and newspapers
and doesn't throw the trash out.
And she got this. Why this newspaper from 1972?
I can't throw this out.
I can't. This is vintage.
I haven't finished a crossword puzzle.
And so we sit.
That's a hard watch.
And you're looking at them, and you can see them physically melt when they start taking water bottles away from them.
Yes.
And you're like, what? Look, what happens to a person in that? So if I'm hearing this and I'm saying, well, the development, the plays, I don't know why they're making these moves with certain personnel, but when you say, well, maybe it's time that we get a fresh look for somebody else to come on in here and do it, and then we say, but who are we going to get? I can't replace my newspapers.
Right.
These are, what am I going to, they're like, Nancy, you don't have a coach. Nancy, you don't have an evaluator. You can always get another. By the way, the thought process that we let people go too soon, I mean, this is 7 years, man.
There's enough hay in the barn for us to know. We've seen the good, we've seen the bad, and there's been a lot of ugly. And it's hard. I'm very much in line with you and Jason, I think, on the Stefanski issue. I can no longer make a case for him staying. And I say that at the same time to say this. I do think he's a good coach, and I do think he'll have success when he leaves here. But in this environment, there's too much outside noise going on. Let's just quickly talk about this.
And they've lost too much with him, Jay.
Yeah, they have.
There becomes a point.
There's only been 2 great seasons.
Lost too much, and the first one was his first year. That's so long ago now.
God, it feels like
it's the last 5 years they've had one good season, and it's just not.
It's hard. And they got boat raced in the playoff.
Can we if we are grading are we grading the coaching staff too?
Oh, it's an F.
Sure, F.
So, front
office, F. Like, there's very few areas in this organization. Owner, Z.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I guess we probably shouldn't spend too much time on it, but it is a hot topic. There was a lot of smoke around this yesterday. There are some Philadelphia reporters reporting that this is a conversation that's being had inside the building there. Would you do a Myles for 3 first-round picks with the Eagles? If you're Andrew Berry, and they do call today and say...
I keep hearing, like, Mary Kay and Zach have both said
it's not happening.
It's nearly impossible because of the cap.
Sure.
Would I trade Myles Garrett for 3 first-rounders? I would. Now, here's the problem. I don't trust the guy. I would only do it if I knew Andrew Berry's getting fired because I don't trust him to get the picks right. But as great as Myles Garrett is, I just don't see the Browns turning it around in time for him to still be playing at his best. Now, he's such a freak that maybe 3 years from now he's still the best player in football. I don't know.
And if you get the quarterback part of it right,
then it will turn quickly.
For me, Bull, the reason I say no is because where would those picks be?
Late picks.
They'd be 28 to 32.
But good teams, it doesn't matter.
But this isn't a good team.
No, that's true.
This isn't a team that has hit on. I mean, they're essentially going to be early second-round picks.
Facts.
The Eagles are looking like they could make a dynastic run here. And to give you a Philly insider perspective, I texted probably the guy I know that knows the Eagles the best. Very simple. Would you give up 3 firsts for Myles? No way in hell.
If you're the
He's from an Eagles perspective. No way in hell.
From the Browns' perspective, you guys just gave the front office an F. If we fully believe the front office will be here, why do you want those picks?
That's exactly right. I can't trust these guys with 3 first-round picks.
I'm surprised the Eagles fans said no to that.
I honestly didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But here's what it tells me. They like their team.
Right. But
they feel like had they not already won the Super Bowl, maybe they do it.
But in the end.
But they've already got one in the barn. And so they're looking pretty good to get back.
Here's the thing, though. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'll trust Howie Roseman no matter what he does.
I will, too.
He gets benefited down on everything.
And that's why I doubt that they would even be really seriously considering
I don't buy it. But
I don't either.
Think about Dallas.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm against trading superstar players because you never get the right capital back and right compensation back.
In the Texans,
unless it's Deshaun Watson.
Well, here's the thing. Like, go look at the Dallas Cowboys. They trade Micah Parsons, right?
Right.
So now they're sitting down there and be like, hey, we got a pretty good team. We just need an edge rusher.
Right.
Well, you just had one.
Well, but that's a big difference, though, because Micah Parsons isn't in the prime of his career. I mean, he's 25, right?
But
Myles Garrett's late prime, not early prime.
Myles Garrett will turn 30 this season.
But so I give them a comparison. If I trade my car today, right, and they give me $7,000 for the car, right, I'm on a bus. So now I don't have $7,000 to go spend and just go to the club with. No. I need to take that $7,000,
replace your car,
and replace my car. And if the car had an issue with it, I need to put some more money with it.
Yes, you're right.
In order to get something that's dependable.
Yeah. So you're right. It could backfire in terms of like you blow those picks. However, and it's easy for us all to say because it's been the case for so many years that, well, what's the point? Because the Browns are just going to blow those picks anyway.
I just don't trust them to make these picks.
But the point is, as is with Myles, zero his fault, they're not going to win. They're not winning. They're not going to win. Yeah. So what I have to do if I were Jimmy Haslam is I have to fire Andrew Berry. I'd make the trade in theory if I could. I don't know if it's even realistic.
I wouldn't even make it with Philly. I'd make it with another team that you think might be giving you better draft capital. The 3 firsts to me kind of look like 3 seconds.
But what team that's not a championship contender is going to do that?
Well, I mean, you're right. They're not. Whoever makes this move is going to be a team that looks at Myles as the missing piece.
Like the only teams I could see doing this are Philly, Buffalo, and Kansas City, and those are all going to be late picks for the next 3 years. Let me. I'd want like maybe a veteran or two traded back in the mix.
Yeah, see, there was some talk about, well, what if they gave you Carter back? Well, I don't know that Philly wants the trade without Carter.
No.
You would want to team these guys together.
He's one of the best defense.
And then I heard, well, what about Brown? Well, Brown's been a cancer. What do you think he'd be in this locker room?
Right.
And by the way, Jay, like if they give you 3 first rounds, it's going to be probably these are future. I don't believe the Eagles have 2 first round picks this year.
It'd be
No, it would be
the next 3 years.
Yeah, it'd be the next 3 years, and those picks would likely fall between 28 and 32,
So let me ask you this,
25
guys.
and 32.
If you had a GM that you really believed in,
then it'd be a different
story. You do it, right?
Yeah, I would be more
seriously
likely to do
consider
it. I would.
I would, and so I would.
I'm not putting these picks in his hands.
No, but I would want to hire somebody now that I'm like, this is my guy. He's going to get it right. Because
but
if
can
you
hire a general manager? It's out of cycle to hire a general manager.
Well, even if it's this offseason, whatever.
Okay,
I mean, like before the draft is what I'm saying.
All right, that's fair.
You know, like I'm not letting Andrew Berry use any of those picks. But think about this. If I made that trade in theory, I'd have 7 first-round picks the next 2 years. 7.
And here's the thing.
Think what you can do with if you somehow got it. Jimmy lucked himself into a good GM.
Here's the problem.
If you had 7 first-round picks the next 3 years, you could turn things around in a hurry.
Here's the problem.
You're right about that.
I don't.
It's a big if.
I kind of don't agree with that.
It is a big if.
Because if you have 7 first-round picks, right? What did you have to do to get those first-round picks? You lost a lot.
Yeah.
And you traded veteran players. So now you have Judkins and Fannin and Schlesinger who lost tons of game this year.
Yeah. Right.
You're going to turn around and go get more young guys, and then you're going to play those guys, and you're going to be worse than you are now.
Well, if you hit on them like you did this past year, maybe not.
But turn around in a hurry with the right young players.
But you still need veterans to. You got to have people that know how to win, and if you got, and you have to be at certain positions. Right now, I look at it like this: if you took Myles Garrett off that field today, the Cleveland Browns literally may not win another game.
They may not anyhow.
But at least you got people that is paying it back so they understand what it is. I'll take Myles Garrett being there to teach Mason Graham. This is a pass rush move right here you need to be working on. Or this is the way we need to run certain things. If you got a bunch of guys that is used to losing and young rookies, you're in trouble.
I would counter that, G, by saying this. What rub-off factor has he had on this organization for the last 8 years? Like, I don't know that his personality is that guy. You know, we always talk about how Ray Lewis rubbed off on his teammates and made them better. And there was a culture inside that team, we can't let Ray down. I don't know that I've ever seen that here.
Well, here's the thing.
We've lost throughout his tenure here.
I look at it.
In fairness, Ray did play with other Hall of Famers.
He had great talent around him, but you could see how guys would rise to the occasion around him. And look, Myles, I've said the other day, I think he's going to go down as the greatest pass rusher the NFL has ever seen. I'm not disparaging his talent, but what I am saying is he has not had a rub-off factor to this point. I wouldn't expect it in the future.
Here's what I'm saying. He's a defensive end. This is the point we get. I think so often what we've done here is because we do have one person and we can point to him. The Cleveland Browns have failed to put people around your best players multiple times. I could go to Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas was perennial, the best player at a premium position. And the Cleveland Browns fumbled the rest of his career. If you play line, if you play receiver, if you play anything besides that, the other quarterback position, Myles Garrett just showed you that's the level of frustration. He's saying, I did something that not very many people ever in the history of the world, the universe, the Milky Way can do.
Only 19 other guys have done what he did Sunday.
I just did that and got blew out.
Yep.
So even if he's that great, the ineptitude to put people around him is so great. He's fighting a losing battle every time he walks into that room.
But what it proved to me is he can play that great. What a line score.
And it didn't even matter.
And we got blown out by 19 points. And he played like
a game of a lifetime.
He played unlike any defensive lineman I have ever seen.
Yes.
Throwing a strip sack. Like, what more do you want the guy to do? And we lost by 19 points.
He can't throw the football. He can't run the football.
He can't. He's not on the field half the time.
That's right.
He can't.
So,
what do you want him to do?
Nobody's blaming him.
He could be.
It's not his fault.
He could be.
And that's why a good GM takes a 27th pick in the draft, a 32nd pick in the draft,
and turns it into something.
That's something legit.
Yeah, there are diamonds to be found there.
That's right.
It's not like it's the fifth round.
At this point, to get to the 7 first-round picks, you'd only have to trade Myles Garrett. That's the only player you lose. Now he's the best player.
If that deal is in fact on the table.
In theory, if that's true.
So this
I don't buy it, but
this will infuriate you a little bit.
Yeah.
So if they do make that trade, I just want everybody to recognize and understand when this regime took over, they were loaded.
Yes.
Completely.
They were the 13th ranked franchise by one metric.
Best top 3 offensive line. They took over that.
Yeah.
Best
running. We were talking about best talent under 25 on this team.
Yeah.
Best
5 years ago.
Best running back. Top 3, right? You had a young ascending quarterback that you took number 1 overall. You had a young talented tight end.
Cornerback.
You had one of the best cornerbacks. You had Myles Garrett in his super duper prime, right? You had one of the best second string running backs in Kareem Hunt. You had one of the best third string running backs in Dearness Johnson. They took over that. And guess what? That means you fumbled the bag and had to trade Myles Garrett. Yeah. You fumbled the bag and traded.
I think you went a little nuts with the Dearness Johnson, but I love everything else you said.
That's a bit of a stretch.
I don't know about the great third.
I mean, the best third string running back.
But you're right. If the Browns, like in my mind, it feels like the Browns, if they can, have to trade Myles Garrett. And the fact that I'm even thinking that is a complete indictment of the organization.
Yes, you're right.
Because you shouldn't have to trade an all-time great player, still older, but still in the prime of his career, without a doubt.
We should not be in that position.
But the team is so bad that it may be the best way out. Like, when is the best way out trading your best player? That'd be like saying, going to the Guardians and saying, the only way we're going to win a World Series is if we trade Jose Ramirez.
We would lose.
Yeah. Well, now the big difference is they're competitive.
Right,
so
exactly,
that's a bridge too far to think that they can get over the hump by trading their best player.
Yeah.
But this version of it is you're getting boat raced by 19 points in a game in which your defensive end did something that's never been done in the history of this organization.
Yes.
And you're not close to being competitive.
No.
Like,
against the team that has been a joke for the last 4 years.
Yes.
30.
Yes.
So what we're doing isn't getting us close, so we have to change course.
That's right.
At least the Guardians can say, we're close.
Right.
Like, we're not going to take our biggest piece.
That's right.
And I just want to ask you guys, I want to know, why was the theory is they're tanking this year? Why was that even allowable? Why is that even...
Gee, how often did I sit here and say that's a loser's mentality? I'm not signing up for that.
Why would they even think that was okay?
That's what they're doing.
I don't even
really think they think
it's
there's
no good answer to that. I guess
they clearly do think it's okay because they're doing it.
Their argument would be what choice did they have?
I do think
that would be their argument.
Jimmy Haslam wants to win.
Their argument would be what choice did they have?
Like, coach and win and play and develop.
Listen, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm telling you what their argument would be.
We mentioned, and I remember in August we had this conversation. Jason was saying, I'm telling you, they're not trying to win. No. And I just said, that's a loser's mentality, and the players they sniff out authenticity. And if you know it as a journalist and we know it as fans, you don't think they know it, how quickly do they let go of the rope? You mentioned before, that's when you start seeing guys saying, man, my hamstring, this could be a 10-week hamstring.
The purposeful tanking does not work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Show me the team that takes
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Gee, it doesn't work.
In any sport.
No.
I don't buy that it doesn't work.
There are too many variables that need to fall perfectly in line.
Yeah.
Losing is the easy part. The hard part is getting those assets that you gain from tanking right. And this regime has proven one thing: they can't get it right. They can't get the draft picks right.
And that's why you have to start
over. And so we're going to lose on purpose. I'm telling you guys, we've talked on this show a lot about the new stadium, and just the fact, and Jason always says this, it's all about 2029.
Yeah.
You expect the fan base to pay record ticket prices in 29 after making us walk over hot coals for another 3 years?
Good luck.
Who's going to be left?
Yeah.
Who is going to be left?
Good luck. Yeah, no.
You said your Little League kids don't even watch the Browns games.
Nope.
And these are sports fans.
Sports fans.
Don't even turn on the TV to watch the Browns.
I had 13 kids on my team. There's one kid who's really watches the Browns.
Okay, when I was 13,
it would have been all kids.
Every single kid.
Every kid.
Kid.
I had half of them weren't even really that interested in watching football. I got 2 Chiefs fans.
Because they win.
One kid's a Bengals fan, obviously.
Yep.
And then there's one kid who's a Dolphins fan randomly. I don't know how that
is random,
happened.
but no Browns fans.
There was one.
Okay, one. And we're in their backyard. And so what is
Broncos? There was a Broncos
shocking
fan.
to me is that we've already washed out one generation of young fans. Mm-hmm. And now we're washing out the second generation of young fans, and we got an owner who's placing a bet that we're going to pay ridiculous prices to continue to watch this garbage.
Yes, he is.
And that's what it is.
It's just crazy.
And it might be the career-ending bet for him. He's always going to be a wealthy man.
Sure, yeah.
But at some point, the heat might get so hot, he does sell the team.
Right.
Because I just don't understand why you would sign up for this abuse. I hear what they yell at him when he comes down on the field at the end of the game, and he's leaving the field before the game. He hears it too. At what point does D say, Jimmy, we're rich. We don't need this.
Yeah, right.
We don't have to do this.
Yeah.
It's stunning to me. I know they love power and they love the celebrity of it.
Yeah.
And they're looking, this is a legacy piece, and JW will one day run it.
Oh my God.
But at what point do you just count your beans and move to Costa Rica?
It's a good point. By the way, I don't know how I missed this, but apparently when the Browns won the game against the Packers, J-Dub was on Twitter like trolling Browns fans like, oh, where are you now? Like as if that was going to lead to a bunch of winning.
Right, yeah.
You know, like, here we come off this win.
First of all, good idea to troll your money-paying fan base.
Yeah. When the only reason you're in the position you are is because you married the owner's daughter.
That's it.
Like, you didn't accomplish anything.
I've always told you that the folks at ESPN that cover football for a living always used to tell me, if they were to let JW go, how many teams would be lining up there? And they couldn't even get the question out, and the laughter filled the room.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And I'm like, and that bull is that's why I always say, the players are underperforming, the coaches are underperforming, the general manager's underperforming, but as long as the owner is the head circus clown,
which he is,
and he's P.T. Barnum.
Yep.
He's picking all of these people under him.
Yeah.
This is who he is. This is what the organization is.
And
he's not going to get it right until he walks away and hires people to do it.
Right. And it's not impossible to win with a bad owner, but it's much harder.
I think it's the most difficult thing to do in sports.
It's so much more to overcome.
You can win with a bad coach. We've talked about that. Some teams are so talented.
Yeah.
You're not going to win with bad players.
Nope.
And you are not going to win with a bad owner because you're going to have bad players.
It's very hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Real quick, guys, before we move on, give me your grades for the secondary and special teams. It's the only units we missed.
I'll give the secondary a C. We've given up some big passing plays this year.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna give them a secondary. I give them B-.
Wow.
Because they haven't, they had a really nice game. They had 4 interceptions against the Dolphins. They gave up some big plays. They've moved some people around, but I think Ronnie Hickman has played in a way where you don't notice. I don't notice Ronnie Hickman getting cooked.
Yeah.
There's not that many, just miscommunications. Obviously, Greg Newsome got traded, but Denzel Ward, you got Grant Delpit, I think, has been playing decent this season. So, I would give him a B-.
I would actually give him a B. I got a B+ for the D-line, a B for the secondary. I think Denzel Ward's maybe having his best year. He's been great.
Wow.
Grant Delpit has bounced back after he'd kind of gone backwards the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Tyson Campbell's been a nice addition since they got him. Ronnie Hickman has improved.
They've given up a lot of passing yards in big spots.
But I think a lot of it, Jay, is just he gets so worn down because the offense can't do anything.
Yeah, I know.
And that just eventually wears the defense down.
You can see the pattern of the games this year.
Yeah.
Close at halftime, still close in the third quarter, even into the fourth quarter, and then the dam breaks and the offense throws a pick or they fumble, give the team a short field, special teams doesn't make a play, they give up a touchdown, and then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, here it comes, and then you got the Ravens, you've got the Lions, you've got, who was the other one that, the Ravens originally.
Yeah.
There was another. Pittsburgh felt like it was a winnable game last week.
Yeah.
It was a 2-point game at halftime.
Right. Well, they were winning until 30 seconds left in the first half.
And then boom.
I've only been in a couple of shouting matches with coaches, and one of the biggest shouting matches that I've ever got into with a coach was we were playing Miami, right? We were playing, and this is what Ben Roethlisberger was playing.
Yeah.
And we got beat. We got smoked. And they came in the locker room. They called us in on like a Sunday. And they're like, you know what, guys? You guys, look at these guys with tape on their ankles. You guys are running around here with spats, and you guys are worried about your shoes. We told you you're only allowed to have white spats. Who has black spat tapes? And then so we sitting there, so they making us run. So we running and doing stuff. And they kept running and they yelling and screaming. And I just had enough. I was just like, listen, man. I said, man, hey, listen, I'm in shape now. You can make me run all you want. I ain't going to buckle. But here's what y'all need to do. They got Ben Roethlisberger. That game plan you put together all week with fullback dive on 3rd and 7, running the option, it ain't going to work. I think you need to watch what you're doing and make sure that you get your game plan together. Because you
said that to the head coach?
You're not carrying
in front of other players.
No, the whole team.
Oh,
you need to worry about getting the game plan together. You know what, Garrett Bush? You run until I say you're done. I said, I'm in shape now. Who cares, bro? But that still ain't going to stop no dive. When you're doing stupid stuff and you're going against thoroughbreds and you're playing against Ben Roethlisberger and top-notch talent and you're watching the offense out there do stuff that you know ain't going to work as a defender, it not only makes you angry, it makes you resent people. And
I can see that.
Resentment kills a team.
Yeah. Special teams, guys, I'm going to say D.
Schmidt,
since week 1, Schmidt's mostly been solid.
He's the bright spot.
You know, the punter's pretty good.
D.
You know,
they can't get a return to save their
life.
life.
Give him a C- just for Bjorkes.
Yeah, Borges has been great.
The return game ain't been the same since Josh Cribbs.
They're generally
That's another thing that so many organizations get right. We can't
get one returner.
We cannot find a guy that can return kicks.
Send Donovan Peoples-Jones back there for the fair catch. Come on.
What's he up to?
Workforce. 401k.
Yeah.
Gen
All right,
Pop.
Anthony.